The Square Ball Podcast.
Hello there, welcome to the show. This is the West Stand, brand new for this season, out on a Monday and Friday. That's going to vary, I think, as we head towards the climax of the season, what with Easter and all that, but we will keep you updated. You will find it on YouTube and in your podcast app. Guests from across the world of Leeds United. My name is Dan Moylan. Hello, with me is Michael Normanson.
Hello there.
NordVPN bring you this one?
They do, yep, that's correct. What? Tell me something about them.
It's premium cyber security for the price of a cup of coffee per month.
That's nice, isn't it?
Yep.
How many devices? 10
devices at once.
What can you do with it?
You can view stuff from around the world, change your virtual location. You can protect your private data if you're on public Wi-Fi. Things like that, Michael Normanson.
Can Tony go back to Australia? And,
Please.
and escape this?
In a virtual sense, yes.
Okay, good. I wasn't suggesting we deport Tony there, just to be clear.
We've moved on from those days.
He is welcome to stay.
I'll come back to haunt you.
It's for his own benefit. He might want to go back to Australia.
The fastest VPN in the world. What else have we got? I'm just thinking about deporting Tony DORIGO now.
If you're on public Wi-Fi, keep your data secure. Have you done that? Yeah. 10 devices,
done that. NordVPN.com/TSB. I think you get additional 4 months on top of your discounted 2-year plan, and it's risk-free as well. Do you know why, Michael? So if you're not happy,
30-day money-back guarantee.
We've done it. NordVPN.com/TSB. You will find the link in the episode description box as well. Our guest today, former Leeds United title-winning left-back and present-day co-commentator on Leeds United television, LUTV, it's Tony DORIGO. Tony, welcome back.
Hello.
In a very literal sense, because you have been in Australia. You brought Are you the bearer of the curse?
It could be me.
Yeah.
Yep, it could be me. I was away. I missed 3 games. What was it? A draw, a win, a loss, whatever. And then I came back after nearly 3 weeks away for the Swansea game. That was a nice return, wasn't it?
When exactly did you get back in the country?
On the Friday.
Right.
So, on the Friday after a 40-hour journey, which was a bit of a nightmare.
Yeah, it feels like too long, that.
That was long, yeah. Something wrong with the runway, and then missed my connecting flight and all that sort of stuff. But no, got back, had a lovely time, and watched all the games, obviously, at funny o'clock down under. Yeah,
40-hour journey home is going to be what it's going to feel like from Plymouth on the final day if somehow this doesn't work out.
Dead rubber. We already know we're in the playoffs.
Right.
Just resting players in that one.
Okay, you two. It's like that. Is it today? Is that what it's like?
That's the vibe.
We should say we are recording this on Thursday just ahead of Daniel Farke's press conference, so we don't know what's going to be contained in that, so we can just speculate wildly. Big question is around Illan Meslier, Tony. In or out, or shake it all about?
Shake it all about. I mean, it's really frustrating after the game on Saturday. You know, it's easy to just to point to him and say, that those mistakes are what cost us. But of course, he knows himself. The manager knows you can't keep making those mistakes, and he's made a few. The only, I suppose, solace you can look at is last time that he made the mistake was a really poor one, Hull, I think, away. 6 clean sheets after that. He's come back and produced, but he knows, the manager knows, the players know that he needs to improve and not make those mistakes. So we get that, but at the same time, he's a teammate. He is part of the team that is going to get to the end of the season and hopefully with promotion. So how he's used from here on in, that's what the manager gets paid his bucks for. But as players, I'm sure they'll be rallying around him, to try and support him as best they can.
How do you deal with a teammate that's done something like that? And it's quite unique to goalkeepers, isn't it? It is. The amount of focus that goes on keepers. Yeah,
it's important that you rally around him. It's important that you take the mick out of him. That's always a good way. So you might not, rather than throw a pair of socks to him, you might go and pass it because he might drop them, obviously. Things like that in the dressing room. So, yeah, it's just fun and games, but there's a seriousness to it as well. And, he needs to kind of relax, but then get back to working well, working hard, in training and knowing, that he's part of things. But you can see the reaction of players around when things happen at the time. Of course, they're going to be annoyed, but I'm sure in training it's changed and everyone's working together.
What's it like being on the pitch in that scenario? Because if he retains his place against Luton, I have absolutely no doubt they will target him based on the evidence. And you're going to see balls chucked into the box, corners, they'll look for free kicks, long throws, that kind of thing. We know Luton are quite a physical side. Mm-hmm. So if that's the case, are you looking over your shoulder as a defender? If that's the case, if he's a net, are you going to start worrying a little bit?
Well, listen, I think the first thing you do, you always, as a player, you want to get the better of your opposite number one. Then you help out your teammate, whatever that may be. And so, obviously, with the keeper, I think it's a position where, one mistake, it ends up in the back of the net. That's a difficult one. It's a mental position, certainly, because you might not be in the game for 20, 30 minutes. And that decision-making, at that moment needs to be spot on. But as a player yourself, you've got to make sure that, you do your job. So, yeah, you got to trust him. You got to trust him. And I think, continual mistakes questions that, doesn't it? And therein lies the problem. But I think you look back, how can we can make it, better for the team? So don't give away free kicks in the first place. Be better with the ball, better in possession, all that sort of stuff. So you look at all of those things, but at the same time, what's going to happen. The ball's going to be whizzing in underneath that crossbar. And so I'm sure they would have in training been, doing exactly that and getting it into the rhythm that this is what's coming. This is what's coming. We know what's coming. We know how to deal with it.
I feel like we've already been here this season in this studio discussing.
We have.
Maybe twice with you.
Yeah.
I think you may have been here after Sunderland and after Hull.
I was the lucky one, wasn't I?
It's getting a bit boring, isn't it?
No,
it's just having to discuss the same issue.
No, you're right. But at the same time, we've got to look at it as, we can't bring in, an England goalkeeper and put him in net. Simple as that. This is what we've got. We've got Meslier, we've got Darlow, that's our keepers. So Darlow, I'm sure, me looking at on as a player, thinking, well, I want my chance now. I want my chance. So he needs to have been, training really, really well. Again, I don't know that. I haven't seen how he's been training. I don't know what Daniel Farkas sees on a daily basis. But as a professional, I'm thinking, okay, if he's not, doing great, he's made one or two mistakes, I'd like to get my chance. So, but that's all normal. That's competition.
I mean, you say we don't have the England keeper, but you do have a Wales keeper there who's obviously proficient to a high standard. Like you say, we don't know what it is that people do see or don't see in training. But the position I've had this week on it is it's actually potentially about protecting Meslier as well and just moving the discussion onto something else. Because if you take Meslier out of the firing line and you put Darlow into nets, even if he does make a mistake, it's different. It's a change. It's new evidence. It's something where you're not just recycling the same discussion again. As you say, we've done it 3 times this season probably now. Yeah. So about taking him out of the firing line.
Yeah, I can see that. But I think what we've seen from the manager is kind of the opposite in that he will back his players. He'll back certain players. And sometimes, I've said it before on here that there's one or two. Aronson was one in particular that I thought he had a particular spell early on in the season where he was just struggling. It wasn't quite happening. And maybe he could have rested because we have other options. But Daniel didn't take him out. And then he went on 5 goals in 8 games, whatever it is, and played really, really well. So I'm sure he'll be hoping for the same thing, with Meslier again. But I think it's difficult with goalkeepers that mental position. And dropping them. But although you look at some of the Premier League sides now, they're a little bit more flexible, aren't they? Some of them with their goalkeepers. But again, I'm not there on the training ground. I don't see Darlow. I don't really know what's going on in that respect. But I think it's harsh when you make a mistake. You want to back your player. You back the manager should always try and back his player. But I get it. It's been a few times now this season.
You mentioned the training ground and the mental side of it. The cross that he drops, that's not a training issue, is it? There's nothing on earth that says he drops that ball. Like no. He catches that ball in training 1,000 times in a week, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Are there some players who just can't translate it? Like it might be the case that they do some drills together and Meslier is absolutely perfect on the training ground, but then we keep seeing on the pitch he makes mistakes. Which suggests to me it's a mental thing as much as a physical capability issue with him. Are there players who just can't translate one to the other?
Of course. And
I want you to name names, basically.
No. You see them that go to a certain club, that they raise their level, they go to a higher club, and they can't perform at that big club because the shirt is kind of very heavy. Listen, the difference between I've played at the highest level, I've won the title, I've played for England. What are the difference between those sort of players, and the ones that are playing in the League One or whatever? Is it technique? A little bit. But the huge thing is in the mind. It's the mental side of it, and they make the right decisions nearly all the time at the top. And as you go further down, the decision making gets worse and worse, and that's a mental thing. So there's no way. You look at Meslier, he can catch that 100 times out of 100 on the training ground, but it's then applying that mentally at that moment at the right time is what it's all about between the average and the best. And it's funny, I speak a little bit about the mental side to businesses, and one stat that got me that I found was about tennis players. So Djokovic, the three greatest tennis players, Djokovic, Federer, and Nadal, out of all the points they've played in their whole career, how many do you think they've won percentage-wise? The three, they've won title after title after title, game after game after game after game. And what percentage do you think they've won?
I'd guess under half. If are you counting faults or
no, you can't win under half.
I was going to say you can't win under half time. You'd be
losing.
I was thinking in terms of like double faults and serves and stuff. So you're talking actual
points. Every point.
It'd be a shade over 50%, probably like 55% or something.
It's 53.
Right.
So the greatest players that we've ever seen only win 53% of the points they play. Then they lose 47. But what makes the difference? Why were they so good if they only win 53? Because they did it at the right time. Those important points is they were mentally better. They were mentally stronger. And that's the difference. And same with top class players, making those decisions. I think for goalkeepers, it's the same or even more so because they can be out the game for a long time. And then they got one decision to make and they get it wrong. That's it. Ends up in the back of the net. So I would never like to be a goalkeeper. Probably why goalies are a bit crazy. You need to be because it's a highly, highly pressurized situation. And you talk about technique. Meslier can do all of the stuff, no problems at all, because we've seen it before. Mm-hmm. But it's doing it at the right time, and that's the difficult bit.
So it's as much about consistency as
consistency, concentration. It is that mental side, and that's why I remember John Lukic before a game would go into a kind of a trance, half hour before the game, 40 minutes before. When you didn't talk to him, you just let him prepare on his own. Close his mind. He'd go through things. Maybe he was visualizing things, the saves or whatever. And goalies would do more of that than an outfield player.
Oh, that's really interesting.
The process of athletes is weird because you see, I kind of understand that side of it as well, but then you see some other players thinking of athletes like Usain Bolt, the most relaxed man in the world on the starting blocks.
Yeah.
Then going out and breaking a world record, and he just looks like he's.
Cole Palmer has the same sort of energy as well.
Yeah.
Just innate talent.
And a brain that's switched off.
Well, yeah. Does that help?
Talking about that, Gaza fits into that mould.
Yeah.
Mm.
No, same thing in that he could be playing Sunday League or semi-final of the World Cup, and he'd just go out there and do the same thing. That's what happened. We're warming up for the World Cup semi-final game, and over the Turin pitch at the Della Alpi Stadium was a camera, and it shone down. It took a picture of the kickoff, the spot. And it was way up there, like 200 yards up there. So the first thing, as we're all running out with the balls in hand, Gaza runs up to the middle and tries to boot it and hit this camera that is 200 yards up. We hadn't warmed up. It's the World Cup semi-final. You think you're going to ease yourself into it. And, no, I can hit that camera. Don't worry, I can hit that. And then plays, a blinder.
You say he's not warmed up. Gaza had played tennis before that.
To be fair, yeah. In the third set, I'm sure he would have beaten that German as well, I am sure.
It's interesting, actually, just applying the example of the consistency to, like, say, Joe Rodon, for example, who you can tell he's a good player and he's probably a level above this level because he's barely put a foot wrong all season. So it's kind of why it jarred a little bit when he gave away that penalty at the weekend, because I looked at that and, you run that little process in your mind where you don't sort of vocalize it, but you think, don't do that there.
Yeah.
And he did it. And I thought, he's put a foot wrong.
It's a mental mistake. Yeah, a mental mistake. And it's interesting, in the second half, he had the same option with the guy going down the left-hand side, and rather than stick a foot in, he stood up, shepherded him away, and nothing happened. Whereas there, he put a foot in, and it's a penalty. It was a penalty. But you have to understand as well, we all make mistakes. I've made plenty in my career. The trick is not to make many of them. And that's what the best players do.
My rage and fury off the back of the Swansea game, it was more directed towards Farker, I think. And just because, Leeds United are carrying my hopes and dreams at the minute, which is sad. But, here we are.
I'm getting tearful over here.
And being let down by them, that's how I felt. I've realised, reflecting on it, that's how I felt off the back of the Swansea game. I thought you were different, but you've actually ended up doing the same stuff again. and I just wanted Daniel Farke to just make decisions that would lead to a different outcome. So I suppose it was sort of rooted in childishness. I suppose a childish desire to have it go my own way and it not feeling fair. I suppose.
And you weren't the only one feeling that way, because I felt the same. I'm sure everyone did. After the game, I went and spoke back in the Norman Hunter suite at the ground, and there's 300-400 people in there. And I actually asked them, how are you feeling? Are you all really frustrated? Are you annoyed? Of course they were. And I think that's a natural reaction. That's absolutely fine. I think what's very important now is we switch back and think, right, where are we exactly? Take a step back from the situation. And the time I last looked at the table, I might be wrong, but we're still in a promotion spot. Is that right?
Yeah.
We got 7 games to go. Is that right? Yeah, we have.
Yeah.
In that, we're still in a great spot. It is in our hands still. I think we've lost one in how many? 20-something?
Yeah.
I'm thinking, actually, that's not bad form.
I struggle to get my head around the fact we didn't lose at the weekend. It felt so much like a defeat.
Yeah. No, you're right, but these things do feel, they seem to magnify. What I'm trying to say is that at Leeds, we have an expectation, and rightly so. But I think the players, hopefully, don't go off on one. They've been back to ground zero, working on the basics and getting their head in the right place again, because it is not a physical challenge. It is a mental challenge now. The last 7 games is a mental challenge.
They dealt with it well last year, Tony.
Yeah. and there's why we are magnified in feeling that, oh my God, look what's happened. We had a draw at home. It's all gone to hell and back, which it really hasn't. And there's still a big opportunity there.
As a former pro, can you tell me, please just say yes to this.
Yes.
Is it just that we need a win? Get a win and suddenly that hits the big old reset button? Because I'm looking back to the example of last year when it felt like that a bit last year in the running, and we got that chaotic win at Middlesbrough. I thought, okay, maybe we can use that as a platform to try and just get this over the line or do whatever we need to do for the last, I think it was like 3 games, maybe after that, wasn't it? Something like that. And that was the last win of the season. So what does this team need? Does it just need a win?
Well, a win, it would, yeah.
But it needs a win, doesn't it?
It needs a win, obviously. That's an obvious thing. But I think what is important is that the players, they don't need to do anything different that they've been doing all season. In that, are this team good enough to get promotion? Yes, of course they are. So they don't need to try and do something completely, different and out the normal. What they need to do is get back to that high level of performance. And by panicking at this stage is not the way. Hence why, managers and Daniel Farke will always, when we win, he won't go too, upbeat, and when we lose, he won't be too downbeat either. And it is important to get back to that sort of level, and hopefully away at the training ground, in private, work hard, prepare correctly, know what your role and responsibilities are in that game coming up, and get the mood going, get your goalkeeper up and happy, and all that sort of stuff, and go and perform. But that's the trick, isn't it? It's that mental then performance, because everything else we know we can do.
Would you believe that this show is coming out on the 33rd anniversary of Leeds losing 4-0 at Man City in the 1992 title run-in, which was, we've spoken about it before, actually.
Yeah,
it's probably a conversation worth revisiting.
Yeah.
A game where it looked like it was all over, and we had 5 games left that season. We won 4 out of the 5. We drew at Liverpool, almost very deliberately, by the looks of it. What do you take out of a game like that? What changed? What did Leeds do to enable them to go from a 4-0 defeat to a 3-0 victory against Chelsea within 7 days?
That's interesting, because after that 4-0 defeat, the boss quickly, got us back on the training ground and said, right, all the things that we've been doing before, same again. Just get back to that. And I mean, you mentioned that we had a bit of a WhatsApp conversation about trusting your swing. And that's what Howard Wilkinson would say, trust your swing, because you've honed your swing all season. You've worked out exactly what you need to do. And just because of one that really didn't go your way, or you might have sliced that one, but you've got it ingrained. So just get back to that, get back to what you do. And that's exactly what we did. And we didn't look too far ahead again. You're right. Next game, what should we do? Just get back and play well and win that one. And we did 3-0, and we just kept, winning games, went unbeaten, and we got the job done. But we're not asking these boys to do anything they can't do. And that's the thing. If I thinking, we're lucky to be up there or what have you, I don't see it. I see some really good players. I've seen some great performances, but it's mentally getting to that zone, that sweet spot to perform at that level again.
They look like they've been playing without any fear. I don't know about you, for most of the season, for a great number of the fixtures anyway.
Yep.
And I saw a team that looked scared against Swansea. They looked a bit scared to win almost.
Yeah, and I think probably the biggest example of that is us in possession and our passing, and Swansea with the high press. They pushed up, they were brave, and normally we end up popping it around. They eventually have to drop back, and then we have all those banks to try and get through. That didn't happen, did it? Swansea were good. And I thought they did well, and we were poor. We gave the ball away in so many occasions. So hopefully that changes. Hopefully that changes.
As for the other games, what do you think of the other ones? We've got Burnley going to Coventry this weekend, which I think many of us would identify as a team in the form of Coventry. An opportunity, maybe, hopefully, for Burnley to drop something, because this would look very different. It'd look vastly different if we were to win on Saturday and Burnley were to lose. Suddenly you've got a gap again. Stupid game.
You're starting to look at every other fixtures already. I get it.
It's been for quite a long time. We've been looking at every other fixture.
Yeah. And I'm with you, because I'm looking at Burnley fixtures and I'm thinking they've actually got looks a tough run in. And obviously Sheffield United still have to go there. There's lots of twists and turns. But I would always bring it back to the focus, and that is just it's in our hands. It really is in our own hands. So, we go and win and see what everyone else does after that.
Despite what I said about John Eustace earlier in the season as well.
Yeah.
Big fan of his now, because they play Burnley the game after, don't they?
They beat Preston last night at the time of recording, so that'd be Wednesday night, wouldn't it? So they've had another little upswing, and it suddenly
they're
looks
out
like
in the bottom three.
They're going to dig themselves out of it, probably, because it looks like a pretty capable manager, does Eustace.
He does well, doesn't he? Does really well.
So certainly pound for pound, given the teams he's had in this division, he's done very well with them.
Yeah, Eustace Rooney.
They're having a nice time in League One. It's fine.
The fixtures. So it's Coventry Burnley is a lunchtime kickoff, the same as us. So that will be going on at the same time, which I think in many ways is possibly for the best. So you're not, I suppose, distracted by any external noise, shall we say?
Distractions. We're thinking distraction. We're looking elsewhere. I mean, and I'm with you, because I'll be doing exactly the same thing. But the players know. Let's stay focused.
Yeah, and Sunderland are 9 points back. It's unlikely. I feel like they're going to pip 2 out of the 3, but they're playing at the same time at West Brom, which will be a difficult fixture for them. Mention it because I've got it on the sheet, and then it's Oxford, Sheffield United playing later on Saturday. So it could look, by the time Oxford and Sheffield United kick off, potentially could look very, very rosy. Could look awful as well. But I think it's that high stakes time of the season now.
It is, but we were in this position last season, weren't we? And it didn't go our way. But I just look at the squad from this season to last season. I think it's better, it's different, it's more balanced. Whether Somerville or Ruter had to turn it on, and then I'm not sure we had too much else after that. I think now we have. But yeah, let's see how we go. But I go back to Ethan and how bad he felt, and I know how bad you guys felt after the game, how I felt. No one is feeling it more than the players. They really are. But they have to stop feeling kind of sorry for themselves and turn that around and use that in a positive way. And that's what Ethan was kind of coming out with. And I'm thinking if he can bottle that up, unleash it on Saturday, we should be okay.
We do need him fit, and he's got to be better than he was against Swansea. I don't blame him for his performance almost, because he's been brilliant all season, and he's come back. It seems quite early from what seemed on the face of it quite a bad injury, and he's come back and he has, I think, tried his best, but was clearly not fit as far as I could see. I'm hoping a week on, and I think Luton away as well is the sort of game where I feel like we really need someone like Ampadu in the team,
because it's a bit more attritional, perhaps.
Yeah, very much so. And you think that he's someone who can win some of those headers when they're chucking it in the box over and over again. So I think he will probably keep his place. There are questions now around the team that starts, I think, because there's an argument for taking either of the wingers out. There's an argument for changing the goalkeeper, obviously, which we've covered. What you do in midfield alongside Ampadu is probably up for discussion as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if he even went Ampadu Grove or something in this one. Kept it very solid for the first hour, and then went for something a bit more attack-minded for the last.
Unleash Tanaka in the second half or whatever, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Interesting with Aronson and GNONTO as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, as you say, the away fixture changes things slightly. I'm with you on Ampadu. I think it was really important that at least he got back into the fold, and the quicker he gets back to the full fitness, the better. Last time he was injured, I think a couple of sub performances weren't great, and then it was like he was never away. He was absolutely fantastic. So he will be vital. He'll be really important in these last games.
Him plus one other than what would you go for then, Tony? If you were neck on the block time, if you were picking the team for Saturday, what would you do?
Oh, what would I do?
You've danced around it very diplomatically so far.
Yeah, I don't like to pick the team because I haven't got the full information, but I'm not there. And one thing I probably would do, I'd unleash GNONTO. That's what I would say. I'd unleash GNONTO simply because I think now at the stage of the season, you talk about maybe with the ball, we look a little frightened. I mean, he looks the most loose and relaxed player in there. He would go there and just play his stuff. And I get what Daniel Farke will say is that, okay, but maybe we lose some discipline in that area and defensive capabilities of winning the ball back and what have you. But I think at this stage, to loosen us up a bit, I think he could be quite good.
So maybe that is the case for the Gruev Ampadu.
And that would make more sense.
Yeah. And then you've got GNONTO being a bit more free form in front of him.
Yeah.
I suppose, because you might not get exactly the same work rate that you get from Aronson, but maybe you get something a bit more forward thinking.
But then I would say, well, how can you leave Tanaka out? Because I think he's been absolutely superb. And when you're talking about calmness and playing under pressure and all that, that's what he does, to a T. So, that's why I'm sitting here and Daniel is there picking the team.
But you know what? Now you've put it forward, I wouldn't necessarily be against a slightly more attritional midfield in Ampadu and Gruev. What's clear from we did the analysis, didn't we, that I don't think we've won a game away from home without at least one of them in there.
Right.
I think, and was it the Sheffield Wednesday game, I'm going to say, off the top of my head, where it was those two in midfield?
The thing with starting those two is you do give yourself options in midfield from the bench to change it. And we've seen that certainly Rothwell is capable of coming on and changing the game in midfield. Some players don't seem very good at it, but Rothwell seems to be someone who can almost watch the first hour of a game and go, okay, I've seen I've seen options for myself in here. Where sometimes people just need a start, I think, or need at least a half of football. Rothwell seems someone who's intelligent enough to come on and change things. So that it gives you the option there. Whereas when you're not realistically going to bring Gruev on to change your game. You're going to bring him on to shore things up if you need to. But
and I think that's why the start of a game away from home, physical side, they're going to think, right, let's try and bully this lot. Hence why those two midfield would kind of combat that to a point. If we can't get our passing game going. Because I thought early in the season when we played those sort of teams, we got the ball around and passed them, triangles around them and really pushed them back. We haven't quite been able to do that in the same way.
Yeah, it was the Sheffield Wednesday match that Ampadu and Gruev started together.
Right.
It's weird how the narrative's changed because not long ago it was he needs to ditch this conservatism in midfield, and now we've lost a few points. People are like, oh, actually,
but I suppose
it's a balance, isn't it?
Maybe we kind of like that.
Don't you feel like I feel like I want to see us win a battle first? I think, and put a foot in. I suppose. I think it's possibly been lacking a little bit. I'm not talking about fouling and kicking people, but just being physically combative, I suppose. And as you were saying, you're likely to get that from Luton, so why not just get in there and win the battle and then go on and win the war hopefully afterwards? What do you think?
That sounds a sensible plan, because I think that's how Luton will come at us. I think if you watched our previous games and where we have a few more issues, you wouldn't want to try and play us off the park. You try and get some set pieces in there, so win that physical side.
So I suppose it then becomes more of I know that the fullbacks push very high, but it's sort of a defensive six and then a front four with the fullbacks going up to support them at the right moment. So I suppose have we just picked the team?
No, I didn't.
No.
Maybe you did.
Well, let's put it this way. I wouldn't be surprised.
I think it's fair to say two of us want Darlow in, and Tony's not saying.
That's a fair assessment. Yeah, let's go with that.
I do actually genuinely understand why you would stop short of committing, particularly because you have close interactions with these people, on a work basis. It's hard to second guess them, isn't it?
It is, but also I've been there and had teammates that have made mistakes. I've made mistakes myself. I know that situation. It's not pleasant. You need support of everyone around you, and you do win and lose together. then that's a really important point. So the fan base and the players, we win and lose together.
Yeah, let's hope it's a win rather than a lose.
Okay, let's go with that.
And then we look ahead very quickly. We're gonna have to do another West Stand at the start next week, but we've got Middlesbrough again on Tuesday. Which I suppose if we do win at Luton, you won't want it. It can't come quick enough, then, can it? But at the minute you're looking at it, you go, just make it stop.
I will say generally, I wish we didn't have as many midweek games, but I've kind of wanted one after that Swansea game. I feel like I want to get it out of my system.
Get rid of the feeling
straight away.
Yeah.
I need to cleanse myself of it as quickly as possible.
Get that scrubbing brush.
Yeah. Whether or not.
Have you thought about having a colonic? Go for a colonic.
It's an option.
So how many weeks have we got left of the season? We've got 1, 2, 3,
5, is it?
Just 4 after this.
All over in a month's time, isn't it?
Yeah.
3rd of May is the last game.
6
We're
games
recording
in
this on the 3rd of April.
Yeah, it's a lot. So we've got the Easter is Oxford on Good Friday night. No less, a bit of a late finish there, and then Stoke on Easter Monday. It's all gearing up to be quite a what's the word? Dramatic finish, Tony.
Did we ever think anything different?
I did a while ago.
I hoped for it. I hoped.
I've got to be honest. After we beat Sunderland and Sheffield United, I thought, coast this. Feet up. Well, I did think we'd lose games, but I thought.
In all your years of experience of following Leeds United.
I know. I was stupid.
And I'm with you. I'm with you.
That's where the post-Swansea anger probably came from.
Yeah.
It was all about the fact that I dared to think
you've already had a little peek at the promised land.
Yeah. And it's Daniel Farke's fault for not making me happy. That's what it is. But no, fingers crossed that they can turn that around at the weekend. And
for sure.
Next
I'll
time
be there.
So we'll probably, if we do this again, it's probably going to be end of the season or heading into the playoffs.
Enjoy the luxurious facilities at Luton anyway.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. What is it like there?
The last time I went there, I just remember walking through what seemed like someone's living room through a little alleyway to get in, and I don't think it's changed very much.
Is
at
that
all.
Even the press bit as well?
No idea. I mean, it's funny. I was thinking before about the Premier League and the press facilities at certain clubs and the food that they get at Chelsea and Tottenham Hotspur. I thought, wow, that will be amazing. And now you're right. I'm now having to think about. Oh, that Plymouth pine peas is going to have to do.
Take your own sandwich.
Yeah.
Take a pack up.
So let's see what Luton offer.
Let's hope we can enjoy it, Tony. That's all we ask for. So enjoyment, some fun, and 3 points on Saturday. Yeah?
Well, I'm going to endure it, and let's hope we come away with 3 points no matter which way. I don't really care, but 3 points is vital.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Cheers.
Strap in again. We'll speak soon.
The Square Ball Podcast.